Advisory Committee meeting. Ooh, okay. So we'll just do a quick call to order. So we'll just double check so everything was posted and on all the different media.
Everything was posted in accordance to
I have
NRS.
a full quorum today. So everybody is here. And I guess we'll just go straight to the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let's see, what do we need to, we got a little feedback. Holly, what do we need to do?
I don't know. Stop talking? No.
That's what I was afraid. You just want us to leave. I know that. That
Well,
we're-
it's because I have to put the mics up so high because no one speaks into them, so that's where the feedback comes from.
Okay.
But I can hear you.
Yes. Okay, well, let's go to the public comment then. The first public comment, and this public comment's related to matters of the agenda. So is anything emailed in? No written comments? Okay. So let's give it a quick beat. Please, if you have a comment, it's 702-589-9629. And that's, again, this one will be related to the agenda. You have 3 minutes to speak if you would like. And then we have another comment period at the end, which can be related to other utility aspects.
Or hear it later? No. Hear the feedback now?
No, it's not, yeah, it's not too bad. It's not, yeah, I don't, thank you.
Appreciate it.
Okay, I'll just start making a few comments while we're in that, and if anybody calls in, then we can get to it. So, we have to be out of here by 4. I think we can do that today. And then Joe needs to leave by 3, so anything that we need any comments from Joe, we'll need to make sure we, at least by about 2:45 to make sure that's done. So, okay, not hearing anything, we'll close out the public comment meeting. And anything else? So, Joe, did you need to rearrange the agenda with anything?
Just one minor change, moving item 5 before the agenda item, so moving 6 and 7 up and 5 just before 8.
Okay, okay. So you don't need to be here for that? We should be able to get to it, but that would be
Sure.
pushing it towards the end.
Right.
If we got into it. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and so any comments about the agenda from the committee? Okay, we'll start the agenda. So item number 1, we will go, so we'll just make sure, I guess I'll make the comments. So we're putting 5 down before 8. Okay, make sure I don't slip up on that. Okay, so for possible action, approval of the July 2nd, 2025 Utility Advisory Committee meeting minutes. Did any committee member have any comments?
I did have a couple comments. First, to clarify the rate study, on the minutes, it was decided that, I think, Larry, you were going to be, and I think you were going to be on the selection committee as a representative. And then on this agenda, there's something about a liaison.
Correct.
I wanted to make sure we separated those two, and they almost sound the same if you read them real quickly. Did I get that right, though? So you were on the selection committee, that's already done.
Right.
And you have hopefully some stuff to tell us about that. I don't know.
Actually, we have the.
Staff will- yes.
Staff will come in and.
Okay.
Yeah, staff will give, on item number 6.
And then the
will-
liaison, we decide today who's going to be the go-between between us and the, is that correct?
Yes.
For the scope and kickoff meeting,
Okay,
yes.
okay. And the other item, Item 6, the effluent study, and I've been going back and forth with Josh on emails. I'm hoping, I was on the road that day and it was hard to hear, and I didn't really get a lot of what was said about that. Now that I read the minutes, there were some real interesting items about the study and the 4 different things, I think, on item 6 that were recorded in the minutes. And I'm hoping to talk about that so I can get an update and ask a few questions. That's why I was asking Josh to get that on the agenda, but he couldn't do it or because of some reasons. So I'm hoping to talk about that as another agenda item so that I can be informed on that, because I do get a lot of questions about that. Is that something we could do on one of the other agenda items?
For a future agenda item, that could be requested to be put on. If there's general questions, you can ask that during the water and power use
Yeah,
update.
just a couple questions.
Yeah.
I
You just
just
can't
want to
deliberate.
clarify a few things so that I understand if somebody asks me a question, I don't feel like a dummy.
Sure.
So when we get to that point, maybe you could remind me, whatever agenda item you want to put that.
Yeah,
on.
agenda item 4, update on
Great.
water and power consumption. We can ask
And that was all I
questions.
had on the minutes.
Anybody else have any comments? I didn't see anything that needed to be changed or any comments, so I'll make a motion to approve the minutes for July 2nd. Does anybody, can get a second?
I'll second.
Okay, so all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. It passes unanimously. Okay, item number 2, agenda item number 2, for possible action, discussion of the utilities 5-year capital improvement plan.
Good afternoon, I'm Carol Lellis, and I am sorry, I gotta make sure I do this right. I'm the CIP coordinator, and we're gonna be presenting a PowerPoint for the fiscal year 27 CIP relating to utilities. So, and I know I sound like a broken record, and I tell you guys this every year, there's a 5-year plan that will be presented to council, and they will approve 1 year, which will be fiscal year 27. And the 5-year plan is 27 through 31. The purpose is to annually review, monitor the state of the city's capital equipment and infrastructure, sets of priorities for replacement and renovation based on needs, funding alternatives, and availability of resources. The planning is we annually review its 5-year capital improvement plan, the current status of the city's infrastructure, replacement and renovation needs, and potential of new projects. And the 5-year plan changes constantly based on the needs. If something doesn't meet its terms of life, or if a priority changes. So we do ask for approval 1 year at a time, and then each year we look at it. Basically, it's a living, moving document. So the planning guidelines, all projects ongoing and proposed shall be prioritized based on analysis of current needs and resource availability. All the related costs for every capital project, including but not limited to the operation, maintenance, and replacement costs, shall be fully identified by the funding source. Utilities are preparing for a rate study, and all capital projects will be vetted in that process. So the 5-year CIP plan includes 20 projects for a combined cost of $50.7 million. Fiscal year 2027 includes 7 projects for a combined cost of $6.8 million. And now we'll go over you can stop me during the process, or we can wait till the end. It's up to whatever you guys are comfortable with. This is a fiscal year 27 projects. We will be asking for tentative approval by council on 12/9/2025. The final approval doesn't happen till May, but it's important for us to have our CIP tentative approval prior to the operating budget starting, because those numbers are needed to prepare that budget. So the fiscal year 27 electric projects, the continuation of the substation 3 rebuild construction, so that's 3.8 new money. Keep in mind that this doesn't include any money for the current funded projects. Electrical distribution upgrades is $900,000, and the meter upgrades is $300,000, for a total for electric of $5 million. Water, Adam Boulevard potable main extension for $250,000, and the copper service replacement is the ongoing copper service project, so that's $650,000 for fiscal year '27, for a total water of $900,000. Wastewater,
Excuse me, what's the, what extension are we doing?
So the Adams potable main extension is the water portion of substation 3 for fire protection.
Okay.
So currently, there's not any water at River Mountain, at dead ends at Wyoming, and down Adams, that last street that is perpendicular to Adams as you
Yeah.
get to substation 3.
Right.
So it involved a main extension
Okay.
and a couple hydrants at
Sure.
street level.
All right, thank you.
okay, wastewater, large meter backflow replacement is $500,000, and sanitary sewer upgrade is $400,000. Total wastewater is $900,000. And that's all of the 27. The 28 through 31 projects, keeping in mind, this is us putting the information in, and each year we are going to look at it again. Not just for the timing of it, but also with inflation and the change of the economy, we like to go in each year and check the numbers again. So the electric has the following projects that do include some vehicles, and it goes out to 31. It could, so keep in mind that these projects in the next couple of years could be moved out, they could be moved forward. This is just the numbers right now.
Well, if I can speak on this one, I think, I'm not sure what we'll have, but on the electric, if we're trying to, we want to basically go from substation 3 to substation 4 as smoothly as possible. Is that correct?
Yep, that would be ideal.
So I think, so the, basically, what is that, $12.2 million for the 3 years? That's what we're hoping is the entire budget for that project, right?
Correct.
So if we took some of the money in 27 or 28, so we take some of that 12 million and shift it back or forward, however you want to call it, then you could possibly, we need to look at design, and my understanding is you've got the transformers, and do we have breakers that we have to order on this one also?
Yes.
So it seems like, because we start in 29, then you're not going to start the construction until 30 or 31, if we start with the budgeting process. So I think if we look at the rate process and put it into this rate study and have 27 and 28 being looked at for $1 million or so, right now 27 and 28 aren't that bad. We take some of that 12 million, we spread it out at the beginning, that will lower the cost in the end, because we definitely have to look at 30 and 31. They're just too high for those years. I know when we get out there, I'm sure that's what we're going to look at. And I think I'm going to be a broken record in this meeting, is that I think there's a lot of things we have to look at the rate study, and this would be one. But I would suggest, and I don't know if the rest of the committee would agree with that, then maybe I don't know if we want a motion or not, and we can do that at the end. But something to think about, and to see, Joe, if you think that's a reasonable thought.
I mean, we're certainly wanting to move projects up in schedule based on the evaluation of the rate study, and with the goal of levelizing rates and not having any big, substantial impacts. So that does involve that project being, $12 million. So if we can shift some things forward for substation 4, we certainly would want to go that route and not have a big delay between the completion of 3 and 4. But again, that's going to depend on the evaluation of the rate study.
Well, like I said, right now, you're looking at 27, 28 are reasonable, and the other 3 years aren't as reasonable. So actually, we're shifting money, it makes more sense. What does the rest of the committee think?
This is 2028 you're talking about, right?
Well, we'll actually would have to go back and look at 27 too, but during the rate study, I think we would ask them is if they would say feasible, and then also if we would want to give the council a heads up that we might want to shift a little bit of that 12 million this way, 27, 28, possibly, but they've got, like I said, you got design, you've got procurement of transformers and breakers. And if we start in 29, you're not going to start till 30 to even start construction, and most likely 31. So we're really pushing that, and my understanding is substation 4 is key to the 4K, 12K conversion. So you're gonna be pushing that even farther out. So if we can get things started and move forward, then that's where this committee can advise to say, maybe this is a better way that something to look at, especially if we look at it in the rate study.
So your concern now is to talk about it at the rate study, correct?
Well, it's a concern, but I think if they're looking at it for the committee meeting, the committee meetings in the council meetings, it's the 9th, so they might not even get to it before that, so it'd be something that we would suggest, and that's where possibly a motion would be in order to say this is what the committee's advising to look at.
Yeah.
Is your reason for that thinking to save us money, perhaps, or just to accelerate the project to get
A
us?
little bit of everything. The sooner we get it done, hopefully, the cheaper it's going to be, because the prices are just going up and up. And so, but it's also, it's a smooth transition. So if everything is a key issue, then my understanding, 3 and 4 are key issues. And so the faster we can get things set up and get it into the queue, the better off we have.
Do we have the money to accelerate?
I wouldn't say that. That'd be part of the rate study, but no, at this point, we wouldn't. We wouldn't have the cash flow and electric to move that forward, and that would have to be analyzed definitely in the rate study.
Definitely, but so do you, I can push it, we can push it in the rate study, or you at least let council know this is, all I'm trying to do is it be an advisory body.
Yeah, I think if there's a couple projects we could look to potentially shifting out, we can evaluate that and move substation 4 ahead as a possibility to do a kind of a trade. But, we do have additional capital besides the substations. The substation being a critical path item, as you mentioned, for the 4 kV to 12 kV conversion. So substation 3 is taking on all the loads of existing substation 3 and substation 2, which is at the end of Avenue B and Adams. Substation 4, or new substation 4, will take on all the existing loads of substation 4 and substation 1, which is kind of behind the shops area. And then once that work is completed, we'll be in a distribution voltage that's at 12 kV throughout, and then we can begin to decommission the 4 kV substations. So it's, things have to happen in kind of sequential order. So if there's some projects we can look to put out a little bit in this 5-year plan and move some substation 4 rebuild money ahead, we can certainly look at that.
Are you making decisions now for 2028 and beyond, or we're just concentrating on 27 now, right?
Correct.
And you were saying that after 2027, you guys reanalyze 2028 as the priority, and so it seems to me we're maybe jumping the gun a little bit, but we want to be aware that maybe that's a good idea when we reanalyze and put 2028 in front of everybody.
Per the rate study, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, the one thing you got to remember, though, too, is if I understand correctly, we're hoping to complete substation 3 by the end of 27. Is that correct?
Yes.
So if we want to order anything, or have any design work, it would be in 27 is when we want to start it. So if we put it off to 28, then that just pushes things out.
So your concern is to change 2027 now, is what you're saying?
But I think the biggest thing is just to at least have it looked at closely in the rate study. So we just want to make sure that it's an option instead of saying, well, everybody agrees that 27 is perfect, then let's say we just want to review things and see what we've got. That's my thought.
But 2027 is kind of finalized in December, and then is there a lot of changes made from December to May when you say it's finalized? Did I get that right?
Generally, there's not, but looking at 27, that's 3 projects. So
Well-
Those three projects are the ones that would have to change. Substation 3 really isn't
We
an
aren't gonna-
option. So it would be those other two projects.
Well, I think what we can look at it, that's being a little bit finite there. In the process right now, you have quite a few projects that are ongoing. And to say that they're gonna be done by the end of '27 is a little bit, sketchy, for lack of a better word, sorry. So optimistic. So there's a possibility, that's why I think when you look at all the numbers, all the figures, that something might fall out of '27. We don't have to say we have to do something else, which makes utilities uncomfortable, everybody uncomfortable. We need to look at all the numbers. So that's why I think it's more important to say, let's look at it in the rate study instead of saying we can't change it. And right now, we've had 7 million and more in the rate studies. This 6.8 is high, but not outrageous.
And
So-
I'm not saying it will definitely be in the rate study. What I'm saying, though, is if you're going to change 27, it's not going to be changed based on already funded projects not being done.
Well,
You would.
we would
So-
add to it, is what I'm saying. We would add,
Because
if the rate
because the
study. can-
already funded projects right now that are funded and ongoing, and this 27, I'm just saying those are two different things.
But 27 is an add-on to the existing
26
project, right?
Correct.
Correct.
This is new money. So if you're saying, okay, you can look at the current projects and say this isn't going to get done, that's
And then
not the
20
same thing.
But then 28 through 31 are just estimates of future
Correct.
costs.
And
those
of
aren't-
course,
those aren't even-
the rate study is going to make
Right.
a huge impact on the outer years too.
But 28 through 31 are as accurate as you can make them with knowledge of right now, correct?
Yeah, it's budgetary cost
Right, but
estimates.
It's based on current costs and inflation and whatnot for the next 4 years, so, all right. Where's the $12 million you talked about, Larry? What-
It's, you add the four, when you go to
Add
the
these
total
four?
amount, you add the four together, you get the
These
12.2,
from 28 through 31?
29 to 31.
29 to 31,
Yeah,
That's the total cost estimated for substation 4.
so,
Oh,
in the
for four,
packet,
for
we
four,
had
for four, yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
full package that showed the
Okay.
thing, and it showed the figures,
Right,
which
I
made
got
it
you.
easier.
Okay,
Yeah, so this one in the packet.
right, I got you.
That was, it's a little bit easier to follow.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it make more sense to make those closer in values than what they are right there? Like for 2028, you've got 2,300,000, and then you go to 6,470,000. You split those up a little bit and went like 3 and 3 or 3 and 4 and 4 or something, whatever it is.
I think that was, and Joe can answer this, that was based on timing of that project. In other words, this much is done, this much, but you can answer that better.
I thought it was like more of a kind of a cash flow based on the rate study. So if we're able to move substation 4 up a year, that would be ideal and expend it over a 3-year period.
And that's the way I took it that you were talking.
That's what I
about
was
there.
pushing for.
Okay.
Equalizing those a little bit more to where a rate, you wouldn't have big jumps in your rates, or you wouldn't have big jumps in your spending.
And you'd also be able to start the project earlier. So to me, it seems like a win-win.
We could look at moving, refurbish the transmission switches up. I mean, if we had to take care of it with operating, we could. Those are 69 kV switches that, they're still working, but they're at the end of their useful life. We don't have to operate them very often, but we need to. So that could be one adjustment that we make to the 5-year plan.
Well, I think to save time, since we are limited on time today, and not to overthink it, is just, there's no need for a motion, I guess. It's just the best thing to do is just to look at it closely at the rate study process and to see what we can do. But just, it's, as in the minutes will hopefully show that it is advisable at least to look at 28. If 27 can be looked at, I think that's still advantage.
What about for 27, since that is acted upon? Is there any action by the committee on 27.
Depends if you need us to have action, or if you just, again, just to say we need to look at it in 20. I'm a little confused from what I'm hearing, so I'm not sure if it's all that worthwhile to do a motion, or just state that we think that there is some advantages to look at 27.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's the committee's objective to review the revenue requirement for rate adjustments. This is a for possible action item for the 5-year plan, which council's gonna, review the single year, 27, and approve the tentative CIP for the entire city in December 9th. So if the committee wants to take action and advise the council prior to that meeting, now would be the time to do so for utilities.
Does anybody want to do a motion, or just prefer to do it as push it to the rate process?
I don't know, it seems like when 2028 comes out and everybody looks at that, we could make that a priority at the beginning of 2028. It just sounds like 2027 is kind of already a done deal.
Well, if you go to 28, it's going to be the same situation, so we have to do it earlier. Because right now, if we wait till October, you're going to be in the same situation we are right now. 28 is already sort of, well, that's what they want. So it's a little bit interesting to sort of try to get all these numbers and things figured out. So what I'm hearing is that 28 is more, the committee thinks it could be worthwhile to at least consider it and make sure that the rate study considers adding, it's taking some of the $12 million, moving it forward to 28 and possibly 27, so we can start substation 4 earlier instead of later.
Or maybe what we just do is take this 12 million divided by 4 instead of divided by 3.
Well, it'd be 5 actually, because you'd be looking at 27. If you wanted to start in 28.
Even if you do it by 4, though, at least you're giving the heads up to
Well,
start in 28.
it's not really necessarily divided by 4. What you want to do is try to get a feel for what you really need. So it's not necessarily, you don't necessarily need to divide it by 4. You figure, okay, we got design work is 1, maybe that's $1 million, and you got some transformers, which is going to be $1 million to $2 million.
But I suspect, correct me if I'm wrong, Joe, but I suspect they took this times 3, divided it by 3 to come up with the same numbers.
But it's,
Yeah,
Which are reasonable numbers to do for what you have information on.
we spread it out over 3
Yeah.
years.
It's
So,
the same number for 3 years, so that's
Yeah.
great. I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
but just to clarify, what I was, asking if the committee chooses to act was for review and approval of the fiscal year 27
Correct.
capital.
Correct.
So that's,
But I mean, if we would want to move it, I understand what you're saying, but if you want to at least give a heads up to start design work in 28, if we just move that over 4 years instead of 3, then we'd have a reason for that.
right, but what we're doing right now is what he's saying. I think if we want to look at 28, we can push hard in the rate study for 28. If we want 27 to be looked at, it's probably best to do a motion, and at least the council then knows that the committee agrees that something should be looked at.
what about the existing as presented request for fiscal year 27?
That's what I'm saying. So I think if 28 would be the rate process, we push harder there. The 27, if we want something to be looked at, it's probably best to do a motion, if I'm understanding correctly. So this council knows that we're advising that at least be looked at.
So you're talking about making more money available in 2027, not
Correct.
taking anything away from what's already there, correct?
Correct.
So you are
Correct.
just distributing that 12 million over 5 rather than 4.
Correct.
And it's not too late to do that,
But what logistically,
or to
Joe,
request it, I guess.
I guess the question has to be asked, why wasn't it included in 27 or 28? Is there timing issues?
I think it was a cash flow.
Availability of people, or what?
So we're just going into a new rate study. It's 100% cash flow. New rates would not go into place till fiscal year 27. You wouldn't be able to raise enough funding in 27 unless we wouldn't be able to raise rates that fast to move up the project without moving other things out.
So you're anticipating that this whatever million it comes down to, 3 million or 2.5 or whatever, is going to affect the rate study and could increase the cost for rates at that point. Okay. Well, I think it still has to be looked at possibly, because we'd have to know what the impact is,
That's my thought.
you know. It still makes sense to consider it.
So if you consider it in 27, that is not going to be in the new rate study.
it would
Or it's not going to be, the rates wouldn't be effective then. That's why it's a cash
So
flow.
that
Concern.
27, it comes out of the existing, and 28 would start the new rate study, so we gotta decide if we wanna do it 27 or 28.
And if there was enough cash flow, if you do it in 27, you'd have to make sure there was enough cash flow to do it in 27, or if one of the other projects would have to be moved.
And maybe what we ought to do, Larry, is just make a motion to have it considered for 27 budget if the monies were available, and then definitely have it included in a rate study for 28, and what the impact is, so we know what the impact is.
Right. I think that's
I mean, that's all
reasonable.
we want to know is the impact is really what we're after.
Because they should be looking at the actuals for at least 26
Because, I mean-
also, so 26 also.
Yeah.
And so then something might fall out in the actuals. It's just asking for a review. So I hear what you're saying, I appreciate it.
Yeah.
But I think we're just asking, we're not telling, and that's, all we're doing is advising. There's no approval here.
So what I hear you mentioning is a potential motion to investigate moving the schedule of substation 4 up at least partially in fiscal year 27. But the rest, do you have any feedback on the rest of the projects and anything else in the requests?
Joe, could you clarify, you said that the 69 kV switches could be shifted to maintenance. What does that mean?
So we have an operating budget, and I mean, if one of those switches, fails and we need to fix it, we're going to use operating, right? But we try and plan for, corrective maintenance, replacements, without getting into that operating budget. That's money that we have to operate the system throughout the year safely, reliably. There's operations. If it had needed to be fixed, we're going to get the system back online, hopefully without having to come back. And we have the funds to do it without having to do a budget augmentation.
And we have 2 additional funds, I know we don't like to get to it, but we have it just in case. You have the operation reserve, operation and maintenance reserve for all the different utilities, and then you do have the extraordinary maintenance reserve for maintenance, which is, how much is that, 3 million? That's $5 million. $5 million. So it's not something we want to touch, but if something did get miscalculated, for lack of a better word to say, sorry, then you still have some ways to do things. So if you're trying to plan in the future, so exactly what he's saying, if something were to happen where the switch would have to replace and it wasn't in this year's, that budget year, you do have 2 sources that can be taken from that are already funded.
Am I correct in saying all these items on 2028 are kind of end-of-life things where you decide, well, it's about, we should be proactive and we should, replace things before they fail. And all these things can be taken and moved to 2029 or some of them and shifted around depending on your maintenance issues that come up. So that whole 2028 and 2029 that are in there right now can be shifted around when we get closer to that point.
Everything really but the meter upgrades. The meter upgrades is new technology. That's advanced metering infrastructure. So depending on the system needs, to a small degree, yes, I'll say that. But the distribution upgrades, that's replacing new cable, new circuits, the switches as well as new switches. So the meter upgrades is for advanced metering infrastructure. So it's for a new communication module to be installed in all the existing meters.
Yeah.
So that clarifies that.
But everything else can be shifted around. As determined if you think it's the end of life or we can go a little bit longer and something, other priority comes and shifts the other way.
That's correct. We can adjust our priorities, but this is our plan, with
As of
electric.
now, yeah.
Correct.
So the question is does the committee want to do a motion or not? That's the question right now. We need to push forward.
Can you kind of repeat the motion again? So
I think
make sure we.
Howard had a great and be advantageous if we could do it.
Reinvent. Right, we would make a motion that the substation 4 rebuild project slated for 2029, to 2029 through 31 be redistributed over 27 through 31, and understanding that 27 may not be feasible, but at least give a heads up on, I'm getting too rambly, but
And it is in 2028, right?
in 2020,
The
no, it's
sub-
not.
No, it is not in
it's
28.
It's not
The
28.
we're talking about Substation 4?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's in 29.
It's on 29 through 31. We at least want to look at it through 28 through 31, but we might give a heads up.
Oh, I see. Oh, I see it
Want to
now,
give a
yeah.
heads up that it should be considered for 27, but 27 is kind of a done deal as far as money's available.
Yeah,
for
I
rates.
think it seems like we want it in 2028. It sounds like you guys are saying 2027 is a done deal. And we can't really insert another $1 million in there, can we, to jump the gun when we're not even scheduled for 2028 yet?
It's more tied to the rate study,
How would,
giving the rate study a chance to build the reserves
yeah,
to pay
To pay for it.
the money.
one other thought came to mind. This total monies for 28 through 31, the bottom line total numbers, that's how the rate study would consider all that total up for that whole 4-year time frame. So where this money got distributed later on, unless you would have a different rate for 28, a different rate for 29, a different
The
rate
rate
for
study's
30.
going to see the 5-year plan.
Yeah. But I think at least for budgeting purpose and rate study wise, I think we should at least distribute that 12 million over 4 years.
Definitely.
Not, I don't think we can do anything about 27. But it'd be nice to make a recommendation that they consider it.
So you're talking about, yeah, like
In other words,
2028, so we started.
So, in other words, that $12 million that's available for Substation 4, instead of it being 4 million for each of those 3 years, it now gets distributed over 4 years.
Yeah, because in most cases, it doesn't hurt to ask a question. That's
Correct.
all we're doing is we're asking a question for
And if it-
27. We're not
And at
saying,
least, yeah, because the rate's gonna, I can't see that's a pretty low number for 2 million to compare to the other ones.
Exactly.
It's kind of, why would you want to skip a year, I'd say.
So just for the rate study, just for everyone, we would look at the plan, like when we need cash flow in 26, 20, like every year.
Right.
So the rates wouldn't fluctuate like that. You wouldn't pay for the CIP. We'd be putting money aside in reserves so we could pay for it 2-3 years later. You wouldn't see crazy rate changes year over year.
Right.
That's what the rate study's going to determine is what's a comfortable rate for
Yeah.
the residents, and then it'll build up so we can afford our capital improvements.
But I mean, in a way too, I mean, you would think from the public looking at this, that, well, shoot, we get a lower rate in 2028 because we'd only spending 2 million. I'm just saying what
Yeah.
impressions are. I understand what you're saying. But if this way, if you distribute it over the 4 years, now, and we have a reason possibly for planning and design purposes, we've got some funds, and maybe it doesn't, maybe it goes back to 3 years. I don't know.
Yep.
It's
We-
5-year plan. I
we'll find
understand that, fully understand that, so.
all we're doing
I think
is.
just as a placeholder, it should
Exactly.
be there.
Yeah, we're just asking.
Well, it seems like somebody's determined that we don't need to start this project until 2029. Somebody in the city, right?
It's based on available resources.
It's not, and the useful life of substation number 4, right?
Substation 4, it still has its useful life. It's part of expanding the capacity of Substation 4, to accommodate the existing loads of it and Substation 1. So it's not in the same category as Substation 3, needing immediate replacement due to end of life. It's part of the conversion to the 12 kV voltage.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if we're kind of,
Well,
are we out of our realm?
No, we're here, well, there's two things.
I mean, trying to accelerate something that's scheduled for 2029 and start it early in 2028. Is that something that,
well,
it seems like it's something that maybe should be looked at when we start prioritizing 2028, because right now it's a prioritizing 2027.
let's ask this. Joe, what would be a typical design time for a substation 4?
I'd say about 6 to 9 months.
6 to 9 months.
Hmm.
So, and then we'd want to move right into bidding and
Right.
moving, right?
I mean,
So-
ideally, we'd be looking at it right now,
Right.
which we can't do. So it's just,
Right.
it's
And
going to
then
take what
you
it
say
takes.
Resource-wise, you're talking about your staff manpower or,
We, likely we'd be utilizing the Colorado River Commission
Right.
through a modified
Sure.
interlocal agreement again, because
So,
that's what we're using
but
for substation 3.
resources-wise, design's going to come from an
Outside consultant.
outside contractor or engineer, right?
Correct.
So you got to get them on board, you got to do that. So design 6 to 9 months, getting procurement, you could talk in a year just to get that through the books, just to get started.
And that's just, we still have.
Just
and you
to
have to get-
secure,
you have-
secure an engineer, to get started, to get it done is a whole year.
And then you got the transformers and
then
breakers
you-
that got a year to 2 years leeway time
Yeah.
before you can
In
even
in the
start
interest of
construction.
time, we kind of got to wrap this item up. So if we want to make a motion to get this looked at for 28, we should do that now and move on to the next item.
Make a motion then that we distribute the total cost for substation 4 rebuild over the 4-year period of 2028 through 2031, and also consider funding partial design during 2027. Is that close enough?
That looks good, sounds good to
Okay.
me. Did you get that, Josh? Do we get a second? Is there a second on that?
I just think it's too late for 2027. That's my only hesitation.
All we're asking for is to look at 27. We're not
Just to
saying
look
do-
at it.
just
Yeah,
to
that's
look
what
at
And
I'm
it.
that's in
saying.
the, in
That's
the
it.
rate study, correct?
Right.
Yeah, I don't see any problem with that. I'll second that then.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. It passes unanimously. Thank you. Okay, sorry. Thank you. To continue.
Here's fiscal year 2831 for the water projects.
Yep, I can go through, if there's any questions on this, couple items of note, the airport to potable main, that's due to existing pressure and flow issues for maintenance into the airport. And then the raw to potable conversion, that is for the Hemingway irrigation system, the ball fields and the channels. So that feed is the existing feed that the city used prior to the Southern Nevada water system. It's a original line that's used for raw water, and we have high pressure, and the age of the line is end of its life. So that's why that's on there.
And that would shut down that line then? That would
That would
complete-
vacate that line,
would
correct?
Vacate that line. Okay.
Yep.
Yes, I thought it was already vacated. So-
It's vacated to the Park Service, so we no longer send to the Park Service, but it's capped. But we
Just
still
really quickly, so this is the line that comes from Hoover Dam itself?
no. This is well, I have to step back. It might be that line. It's coming from Colorado Street, kind of down from our raw tank from Black
Oh,
Mountain.
okay. Because originally, when you said the original one, there's a line that comes from Hoover Dam that's, you can see the pump station as you come up the hill.
Yeah.
Down there at the very bottom of Boulder City, right near the visitor center.
Yeah, I believe it's that line.
Okay, but that, so so we vacated from Hoover Dam to that line, and you're saying you're bringing it down from Colorado. So from Hoover to that line's already vacated.
Correct.
Okay, I'm just trying to make sure I understand.
Yep.
Because I thought that was a sieve, so.
Yeah.
From Hoover Dam to there, so that makes sense that this other, where it's coming from, just so I can clearly understand what's in the acts. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions or concerns
Yeah,
on water?
on the airport
Yeah.
potable main, would any of those expenses, can we ask for FAA help on that? Being that is it to support additional use?
No, it's for maintenance purposes for the water system.
Okay.
Any other questions on water? We'll go to wastewater.
I think the big kind of things to note here, the lift station upgrades, that's going to be part of a technical memorandum that we're having performed for evaluation of the whole system. The two lift stations themselves, I think lift station 1, it's circa 1970. It's in a floodplain. The idea would be to move it out of the floodplain, replace it in kind, replace the wet well, new pumps. We've repaired both of these over the years, but this would involve kind of like new stations, new switchgear, new pumps. So we're hoping to get some grant funding for that, but that's why it's out in 30 and 31. Any other questions with any of these? Okay, thank you.
So connecting with the residents, the city put in place a CIP idea location on our, so people can actually, citizens, anyone can go on and put in suggestions. And we've gotten multiple suggestions, and then those go directly to the director of that department. So, and then they can bring it forward into the CIP planning.
So has anything been suggested for the utilities?
Joe?
My understanding there was 6 or 9 recommendations for electric. That was kind of identified. I don't have each one of them specifically in front of me, but it will be in the presentation to the residents this evening. The number.
Just the number, but not
Yep.
what was actually suggested?
Correct.
Correct, okay. Is that something that we could either have as a handout or just email to us? Just, it's curiosity to see what
Yeah,
the residents are saying.
Yeah, I can go on and go to the webpage and we can send it to the committee.
Does the webpage
Which-
have it there?
Yes.
The webpage has because I didn't think that
Yep.
did. I haven't had a chance to look.
Yeah,
at it.
this link has that
And
information.
it says what utilities are suggested?
Yep.
I mean, okay, then we can take a look at that then. Thank you.
I realize these are CIP issues. What about manpower additions? Do you have any concerns for that or to this budget, to the rate study and the budget?
Yeah, we don't have any concerns at this time and not
So
related to
staff
this
will
item.
Staff stays the same, stays.
Yeah, we wouldn't be able to comment on that at this
Okay.
time.
Okay.
This is our CIP timeline for 27. As you can see, we start this process in the beginning of August. And right now, today is when it goes to Utility Advisory Committee and the staff-led resident workshop this afternoon. And then it'll go, the council will see it at a council meeting at the end of our October 28th. And then we'll take it back, take everything in advisement and hopefully bring it back on 12/9 for the tentative approval. And the final approval will be 5/26. And it's part of the approval of the operating budget.
And then the meeting this afternoon is just a repeat of this utility information. There's nothing different than what you're presenting
It's
to
the
us.
same utility information, but it just has all the other departments with it too.
Okay, thank you.
And any questions can be emailed directly to the CIP email. And that's all. Is there any additional questions or?
Anybody have any questions? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
We'll close this agenda item out and go to agenda item number 3, status update for utilities in progress.
All right, thanks so much. Just to provide the committee with some updates on ongoing capital, going through your packet, the first 2 circuit projects, those are really ready to go. Just the front end work needs to be completed, kind of get those out to bid. On substation 3 rebuild, we will have the breakers go to the Colorado River Commission at their December meeting. So a little bit of a pushback there. We don't anticipate the schedule to be impacted at all from that. That's the majority of the upgrades for updates, I should say, for electric. On water, we have several copper service replacements that continue. A lot of that was done with the ARPA funding. So we're confident that we're going to have the expenditures down and not have to give any ARPA money back. So that was the goal with that. As far as the El Dorado Valley Line PRV design goes, we have a preliminary report received by our outside designing consultant that's in review. And then for reservoir improvements, what we're looking at there is circulators and flow meters in the reservoirs themselves. That review is in process. And then getting down to wastewater, the vendor is providing the final punch list items for the headworks upgrade. This is the bar screen and grit removal system. Would be happy to give anybody a tour anytime if you guys are interested to see how it works. It worked out really well. It saves a lot of time for us having to get into the aerators, having to remove solids. Our operators are very pleased with the completion of that. Working through some kind of SCADA kinks with some high alarms, so we're not having too many call-outs. So once we kind of get that dialed in, that'll be right where we want it. As far as the lift station 3 improvements go, we've got a preliminary report received, and we're kind of looking at the Hemingway Valley collection system as one system. So we've been making improvements, upgrades to pieces of the system related to age as well as odor control. A lot of the complaints we get in that area, it's related to the age of the sewer system itself, like the sewage that's in there. So we're looking at ways to optimize the system. That's included with the lift station 3 improvements. For lift station 4, we're working on the submersible pump replacement and the wet well coating. That's in the planning process. That's the lift station that's completely in the street. I can't think of the street name, but it's down there at the end of the line there. And then as far as sanitary sewer upgrades goes, we're preparing the specifications and getting bids for the manhole rehabilitation. So this was the EPA-funded grant. Initially, it was going to be for the headworks and bar screen, but due to the timing of the federal grant process, we had to shift that scope to something that was a little bit more that we could manage. So we had to do the bar screen ourselves and get that moving. So once we get those specs kind of out, we'll be getting those out to bid. And then for the landfill, the geotechnical report has been finalized. So that's to make sure that we don't have any hard dig out there. So this is for the perimeter road and retention basin out there. So that's to keep all what's contained onto the landfill for a 100-year storm. So that kind of covers the ongoing, and this is kind of looking back at the city manager report from July 31st. I'm happy to answer any questions if you have any on the ongoing capital.
So on the sanitary, that was the sanitary sewer upgrade you were talking about, right? Was the manhole?
Yes.
The $268,000?
Yes.
And so that's the one now is going to be
That-
it will be a grant, or you're pushing to get a grant?
It is a grant, so that's our matching contribution for the grant. Initially it was the Headworks bar screen, and I think that was from 2022 is when that grant, was awarded. We had a little event here, and so we had to move forward with the bar screen ahead of time, and we've shifted that to manholes that need to get done, but maybe ones that that aren't on the top of the list.
Okay, so I'm just, for clarification, you're
Yeah.
saying we still have to spend the 268 from the utility fund?
Yeah, that's our matching
That's our
contribution.
matching fund.
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Make sure I clarified. Thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions from the committee? Okay.
All right.
Thanks, Joe. Appreciate it.
Absolutely, my pleasure.
So we'll close down item number 3 and go to item number 4, update from Utilities Directors Stubitz regarding water and power consumption.
Okay, very good. So in your packet shows a little narrative it shows the purveyor report, which is the water consumed for all the purveyors, as well as a link to the electric demand analysis. This is straight from our meter data from the Colorado River Commission. So just to kind of highlight some peak demands that we saw, in June, we got up to about 45 megawatts, about 48 megawatts in August. In July, we had a peak of 47. So pretty typical that we would see for this time of the year. This is our highest demanded area, and we've been at this around this range for the last 30 years, I'd say.
Well, actually, maybe it's only minor overall, but it is, I think actually we go up to 52 at times.
At times, yeah, around, yep.
So actually,
exactly.
this isn't too bad, really. So it is a reduction.
Yep.
From the last, because I think we are having some savings, or whatever you want to say, for electrical conservation or less power usage if we got more efficient power out there. So actually, it's a positive aspect.
Yes.
Than negative. So even if it went up from last year, it's still better because we're under 50.
Oh, yeah, and that increase is the seasonal increase. I should clarify that. Didn't go up from last year. That's the seasonal increase. So
I just want to point out, I believe it's a positive aspect.
Yep, thank you. And then as far as the water goes, that is an increase compared to last year, modest. It's about 2% higher. So we're at 6,587 acre feet. Through August of 2025, we attribute this increase related to weather fluctuations and just general customer usage patterns.
I think we need to be fair. It's customer end. So unless you're calling the golf course customers, which I don't think
all
we
customers. Yeah, all customer usage patterns.
Because with the golf courses being 30-some%, well, all 3 golf courses, but even the city golf courses are a large water use. I think it's just fair when we go to the rate process that we look at it very closely.
Sure.
Because, when you look at, if I'm understanding some of the facts, and that's what we have to get at, the residents are definitely less than, the residents and the commercial are less than 50% of the water, but we're paying most of the O&M, everything but the actual water costs. And
Right.
so that has to be definitely considered in the rate process. So to understand what's being used, and then I think the next, so is it this coming year, 26, or is it started now that they'll be reducing the water, trying to reduce the water on all the golf courses?
The water budget is into effect for 2026 calendar year, and the way that works is at the end of the calendar year, each golf course is assessed based on its annual usage.
But we would assume that the golf courses would at least be reducing water, so we should see a reduction in the overall water use, I would hope.
Yeah, the intention is to get a reduction. Might not be able to get the full reduction from some of the golf courses, so.
What about Cascada?
That's the one I'm referring to.
And when do you decide if they are fined or not?
So the golf course water budget's going to effect in 2026. So the way it's assessed is at the end of the calendar year. In December, at the end of that full calendar year, it'll be assessed if there was any overages.
And you're talking from
For all the
July
golf courses.
26th to
January 26th. Calendar
Okay,
year
so we're not
26.
very far away.
Right.
At the end of the year,
Yep.
then you decide if you fine them.
Correct.
And then if you fine them, the money goes into a pot for Boulder City, and you have to decide how to spend that money to save water, correct?
Yeah, I think council will make that decision. It's deemed for water conservation purposes. Yeah, but
I'm hoping that we have input into that also.
Sure.
Before it goes to council to make our recommendations.
Sure.
But again, we're talking a year plus down the road.
Right.
Well, the one thing you want to look at too with that aspect, and that's where the rate process will show us, is that Cascada pays the highest amount in raw water. And so that's where their water's gonna go up. And they're more, some of the facts I've seen is they're more efficient than the other two.
Yeah, but they're still required to use so much water per
but just
acre
want to make sure you
as the same
understand.
as us, correct?
Correct, they are. But
And then they get fined if they go over.
We're getting revenues from them. We're not getting revenues from our own golf courses. So. that
Yeah,
we're
but
getting-
the fine, we're going to fine ourselves.
The finding part, yes.
Yeah,
The
we're going to
finding
fine
part.
ourselves or we're going to fine them.
Right,
And
right,
it's going to go into a pod, and then we're going to have to decide how to spend that to save water.
So I just want to make sure there's two parts of it, just to
Yeah.
make sure. So the aspect of the fine, you're 100% correct. I just want to make sure that it's not clear how much Cascada does pay more in their water than everybody else does. So that's already, because then they also, they're the only ones that really, that pay towards the raw water debt. So nobody else, the other raw water, except for a small amount of commercial, doesn't pay for it because, so the residents are paying for the whole water debt. So there's just certain things that it'd be helpful to understand in the rate process, so we sort of know, especially when we get into a cost of service, sort of understand who's really paying what. And so I'm just trying to make sure it's laid out there instead of this is a small area, there's a lot to be considered. So the fine itself, it's the law, whatever it takes. I hear what you're saying, but there's a little more to it. So, okay, thank you.
Sure. Any other questions
Randy,
related to
you're
water
still-
and power consumption?
Is this a good time to ask about, of course, Boulder City's going to, the Muni course is going to start their process to rebuild all the sprinklers so we can save water when that's done. Do you have any more data on, I understand that's been delayed till maybe at least January 2026. It was supposed to be scheduled in November.
So I don't have an update
You don't
on
have an
that
update, okay.
project. Yeah, it's.
I was just curious if you knew.
Yeah,
Okay,
unfortunately.
that's fine. And then this is where I wanted to talk a little bit about the effluent on this item 4, correct?
Well, if you have a question for me.
Yeah, let me get this July 2nd list in front of me. Just take me a second here. So, item 6 was a report in July 2nd meeting of the study. And I think you stated that the cost estimates are prepared.
Yeah, there was a rate impact memorandum that was prepared. Staff provided comments back, and so what we're waiting for is that final report back.
So let me make sure I have it right in my head. They did a study, and there was 4 items that they studied of how to
Right.
utilize the effluent.
Yep, that's complete.
That
Te-
study's
the technical-
complete.
yeah, the-
And then I think you mentioned in that meeting that there's estimates out to perform those 4 items, which is.
Right.
One of them was to pump it over to Henderson. Another
Yes.
one was to utilize it here. Another one was to rebuild the plant here in order to treat the water so
Right.
that it can be sent over to the lake.
Right.
And so there's been estimates prepared for that? Is that
Yeah,
correct?
that's what this rate impact memorandum was. So first they did the technical cost of it, the capital. Then they wanted to wrap it together with, okay, what would be the rate impacts? So this rate impact memorandum was prepared
Rate impact for the whole southern
for
Nevada
the
water.
customers, for us,
Oh, so we would have to pay for this?
for our, well, whoever would have to pay. A
It seems to me it would be
impact-
all of southern Nevada in order to pay to save $1 million gallons a day.
Yeah, I mean, whoever would have to pay a rate impact memorandum was prepared. We provided comments. That's been kind of sent to SNWA where, they're finalizing that portion of the report. So all the, what's in the minutes from the last meeting, all still valid. So,
And so we're just waiting for that report to come out.
again, we submitted our comments. Yep, we're waiting for that final report back. And then, once we review it, we'll have a meeting with them and
And
bring it to
then
council.
they'll determine if we're going to make a move to do one of those projects, correct?
We're going to review it. We're going to meet with them. Then we'll brief
Discuss it.
council, bring it to council. Yes.
And then at some point, somebody's going to make a decision that, yes, we're going to put a pipeline in and ship it to Henderson perhaps, and then
Yeah,
send it on its way, or we're going to
yeah,
rebuild Boulder
yeah.
Cities. That has to be determined.
City council will have to make that decision. Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Have we seen that report? We've not seen that
It's
report, have we?
Yeah,
not
so-
out yet, correct?
No, it was completed, the technical portion of it, but they included a rate impact memorandum. So that was submitted. We provided comments, questions back. So we're waiting to
But
get
we
that.
have not, this committee has not seen that report.
Not to my knowledge, no.
And when?
You haven't seen
when
it
can-
either.
When can we?
Yeah, no, we've seen it.
Oh, you
when
have
can-
seen it?
when can
Yes.
we- Can we have a look at it?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I imagine once it's finalized, then it could be a public document, so.
You have a preliminary copy of it?
Yeah, we have the.
Can we get that?
Yeah, I'm certainly,
Can
I
you
can
send that to
investigate. I'm sorry?
Can you send that to us?
Yeah,
on
I can
email?
investigate if that's something
That'd
we
be
can
great,
send.
yeah. I'd
Yeah.
love to see that.
Yeah, I think, my understanding, the way the process works and would work, is that it would be finalized. We would meet internally with them. We'd have meetings then with council, and we would bring that to council. So that's going to be the process and timeline of when you'll be able to get the information.
Okay, so you're saying we, meaning this committee,
No, we being staff, yeah.
and when do we
So-
get involved?
So again, okay, I want to talk about the timeline again, okay?
Yeah.
So the feasibility study was complete, okay? A rate impact memorandum was done in addition to that study, okay? Staff provided comments, questions as part of that process. Okay, so once that's finalized and we get the final product, we are going to meet with SNWA, okay? Then we're going to brief council. Then we're going to bring it to council. So at that point, we can bring it to the committee. Is that clear?
Yeah, and
Okay.
am I correct to assume that in order for Boulder City to save all this water for SNWA, and if they decide to do a project where all that water is saved, Boulder City's not going to have to pay for that only. It's going to be distributed around all customers because it's saving. Is that a reasonable assessment, or is that
I mean,
up
that's a
in the air
comment. I
still?
can't comment on that. I
know,
appreciate
my-
that, again.
I would suspect, no. It would
And then,
be
yeah.
Boulder City's cost.
And we're getting
Because
into-
Henderson.
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
see
Hey,
that, but-
no, I'm just saying, Henderson, which I worked for, we did all of, any kind of improvements that got water back to the lake, all was paid for by the city of Henderson. So I suspect that same,
That'll be
that same,
interesting. Okay.
that same method would be, Las Vegas has their own, Clark County has their own recycling facilities. They've paid for that on their own. And,
Yeah,
and the cost, the O&M cost, the O&M costs associated with that are all bore by the utility or the entity that runs that.
And I think, so maybe, let's put that discussion, not even discussion, but a little more information for the last one for the future agendas.
Yeah, I hope we
I
can put
understand.
that on.
Maybe we-
You'll know more information.
Maybe we can push to get it back on the agenda, because I think
Sure.
the more we can discuss it, the better off we'll be
Right.
when we finally see it.
Yep,
So,
Yeah,
okay.
so
good.
if you could send that to us, that'd be great.
yep, absolutely. Any other questions related to water and power consumption?
Anybody else? So this is the time, if you're gonna have any, so since really 8 is not the proper place to have any final comments, if anybody has any comments related to power or water, this is the best agenda item to do it on, if anybody has any comments. Okay, so
Okay.
not hearing any, then we will, so, Joe, that was it for your part?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Okay, so we will shut down number 4, close down number 4, and we're going straight to number 6. Okay. Update on consultant selection process for the utilities rate and overview and next steps.
Good afternoon, committee members. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Thanks. My name is Paul Sikora, and I'm the Purchasing and Contracts Manager for the City of Boulder City. I'm the guy that does all the formal bids and writes all the contracts for the city. And we thought it would be prudent to take a couple minutes and tell you about the process we used during the recent RFP for the rate study. Hope you don't mind. So to start with, there's a difference between a bid and an RFP. A bid is when you're looking for a fixed cost for a product, and an RFP is when you're looking to select somebody to conduct a service. In this case, we conducted an RFP. And I want to run through some stats for you real quick. So the RFP name was 2025-06. We published it in the Las Vegas Review-Journal on July 9th. We also published it in something called NGEM, which is the Nevada Government e-Marketplace. It's the online portal that almost all the government agencies in Nevada use, to go out and solicit bids and RFPs. In this case, we published that in NGEM on July 7th, and it went to 10,973 different professional services type organizations registered in NGEM. We had a deadline for questions of July 21st. We only received 5, which we answered in the system in NGEM. And the RFP closed on August 5th. In that, we received 5 proposals. So what we do after receiving the proposals is we have a very formal and structured process here in the city that follows the NRS for evaluation committees. I act as the administrator of the committee. We appoint a director as the president and several other key managers, functional experts, other directors throughout the city to sit on this evaluation committee, and we review the records. In this case, Mr. Carr represented you on this evaluation committee as one of the 6 members who reviewed all 5 of the packages. Basically, I gave everybody the packages 2 or 3 weeks before, asked them to familiarize themselves with them, and then we met in a room and we scored the packages based on the criteria that we had published in the RFP. And when we did that scoring, I'll just rip through the numbers and the scores real quick. In order of the highest score to the lowest, FCS Group came in at 542 points out of a possible 600. UFS 541, Raftellus 519, New Gen Strategies 514, and the Spigler Group 439. So in this case, because we had 2 groups that were just 1 point apart, the president thought it would be prudent, along with the rest of the evaluation committee, to do what we call a phase 2 evaluation, and that is to take those top 2 groups a couple weeks later and have them, in this case we did it during a Teams meeting, have them link up with us, and the committee members met again with them, and we had a one-on-one discussion with them about their proposal. And then at the end of that, after we talked to each of those top 2, we scored them again on the same criteria from the original proposal. And with that, we had 1 member missing, but we still proceeded with 5 total people. The FCS group had 469 points and UFS had 450 points. So FCS came out number 1 in the first round. They came out number 1 in the second round of discussions. And the evaluation committee made a decision that we should do the recommendation of award with FCS. We typed up that recommendation of award. I sent it out to all of the groups that participated in the RFP. By Nevada law, there's a 5-day waiting period to see if anybody wants to protest. That waiting period ended yesterday. There were no protests. So now we are clear to proceed with developing the contract, the scope of work first and the contract with FCS so that we can move forward. That basically describes the process. We wanted everybody to be aware of the open and transparent process that we used and show the steps that we followed per Nevada law during this. So are there any questions at all?
I was just curious,
Yep.
how many meetings were you involved in?
Just 2.
Just 2, okay.
Yep.
Yeah, but like I said, he sent the information out 3 weeks beforehand, so I had time to research or to evaluate the packages.
I think Mr. Carr will tell you they're very structured. I tried to run things as structured as possible.
Yes, it was
Yeah.
very fair, it was very structured. It was a
Thank you,
good
sir.
meeting.
Were there any costs associated with any of the proposals yet?
Sort of. And again, per Nevada law, because this is supposed to be a qualification-based type thing,
Correct.
cost can't be the primary factor.
Correct.
So we assigned a 10% percentage points of their overall score towards their fee schedule. We had asked everybody to tell us their hourly rates for their people, but we did not ask them to give us a cost for the project because we
Right.
cannot do that.
Right.
That's something we'll determine when we get to the scope
The
development.
scoping issue.
Exactly.
All right.
But I think you can say, can't you, that the one that was selected did have a feasible rate, their hourly was a reasonable rate process.
Correct, yeah, but if they want to provide us a little more than the fee schedule and give us a, you know, a feasible or a general rate range or whatever, that's fine. We didn't ask for it, though. Correct.
Can you give us a kind of a overview of the process from now on? Now you're saying you
Sure.
have to do a contract. How long does that take? And
Sure
then-
thing. I know we have another agenda item coming up. Joe, I don't know if it's after this. Do you want me to talk about that? Because it kind of goes right into it.
Sure. I mean, if you guys want to get into agenda item number 7.
It flows into it.
Well, it depends if we need to shut down 6, or do we leave 6 and go into 7, or what do we have to do on this situation?
Yeah, I think you can leave 6 and go into 7 if you're
Just
done.
leave it open just in case we need to come back to it, or shut it down?
I think you can, you know, whatever questions you have could be asked in 7 from 6 too.
Okay, I think so also. So is everybody's okay with so I think the RFP, did anybody have any questions on the RFP? So we can we'll go ahead and shut down number 6, and we'll go to number 7, and then you can continue
Okay.
just with that aspect.
My involvement in this process is all the way through contract approval by city council. And in that, there's still another month and a half or so of things that will happen. First of all is next week, we're going to try to schedule a meeting with the FCS group to do our initial scope development, where we're going to sit down and define exactly what we want them to give us a proposal and a cost workup for. We, as a part of that, would like to have a member of your committee attend that meeting so that we can articulate and make sure that your desires are in this next scope of work. And I'll let you handle the method of doing that here shortly. After that meeting, that company will go back. I'll give them about 2 weeks to send me a proposal with a solid fee. I'll give it to Mr. Stubitz to look at and make sure it meets everything we need. And as soon as the proposal is good, I will prepare it to a contract, which will be coordinated between the lawyers of our two organizations and ultimately through City Council. If I could estimate, I would think we should have that contract in front of the November 10th City Council meeting. Again, that's an estimate. A lot of factors depend on how quick the scope is developed and how quick the attorneys look at it. But I think that's a decent date to look at for an estimate at least. If not, it would be the next meeting after that. After City Council ultimately approves it and the document gets signed, I distribute them along with instructions to Mr. Stubitz that they can commence work whenever he directs. The commencement of work could conceivably begin, if the schedule goes as I described, around the 1st of December, is the way I see it.
And then they're giving them 6 months to complete it, or is that going to be part of the scope to negotiate?
That's negotiable. I think we had said we wanted it done within 6 months, but depending on the complexity of the scope of work or the ease of the scope of work, it could change by a few. But again, we can negotiate that during the contract. Yep. Any other questions regarding that item? Mr. Stubitz, do we need to make a motion to have somebody?
Well, I think at this stage, the committee, if possible, would select a liaison per item 7, so that would be the next step.
I'll nominate Larry, since he's been involved from the beginning. It seems logical that he would go right on through the process, if you're willing.
Except what I did for 20 years, so.
He's qualified.
I'll second that.
Mhm.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. All in favor of, I guess, selecting me?
Aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? Say nay. Passes unanimously. Thank you for the vote of confidence.
Thank you, Mr. Carr. I'll be getting in touch with you just like before, setting up the meeting for the initial scope development.
Appreciate it.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Paul.
Okay, so now we're doing number 5, correct?
Yes.
So for possible action, discussion of bill number 2086 regarding public utility regulations, pole attachments, and joint use agreements and considerations, impacts on utility revenue requirements.
Yeah, just kind of comment in general on this item. I mean, this was something that was brought to the city council for the ability to collect franchise fees for pole attachments, things of that nature. The utility does not anticipate any need for any revenue associated with this, and this would follow in line with other similar franchise agreements on city property. Utility infrastructure is a little bit unique. We don't have any land. We don't own any land. The utility doesn't own any land. So, kind of for that reason, the city itself would get the fees associated with any of these attachments. So that's the information I've got, and I'm sure the committee can discuss, and if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer as best I can.
Well, the major comment here is I think this definitely needs to be part of the rate process. If theoretically, I believe the utility does own the utility structures, they own the poles. The utility is responsible for all the upkeep of the poles. So it does not make sense that all the fees go to this general fund and none of that is helping with the rates.
Yeah,
So
none of
it
the
goes-
land. Yeah, I just was saying none of the land. Yeah,
Right,
I
but the
want to
poles and stuff,
clarify.
we're all responsible, and it's not associated with the land, it's associated with the structures. That's what the fees are being mostly associated with. So you're talking poles, the contract said it was related to cable. So I guess maybe I didn't, I honestly, I did not read the whole aspects. I don't know if it's poles and cable.
Yes, yeah, it's pole attachments, it's use of conduit, and use of cable.
Yeah, so if we're paying for rebuilding and upgrade and all that, then of course the city should get paid back for whatever they do. But in most cases, well, all the cases, salaries are paid either by the general fund or paid by the rate in salaries. So the salaries of anything being done is already paid for. So if we're paying admin funds for their salaries, then we want money to help offset that. So if it goes directly into the general fund, then the rate process is losing out on, that's where it's important for this committee to understand, because it is a revenue requirement. You would be able to reduce the revenue requirement if we could see at least a portion of those funds. So I think the committee really needs to understand that and make sure that at least some of the funds could be helped to offset the rate process. You're looking at $80-some thousand potentially, if not more. And so for all to go into the general fund and nothing to help the rate process doesn't seem like the correct way to.
Where does that 80,000 number come from?
So the 80,000 is an estimate based on a report about a decade ago on the number of existing attachments that we have. So we had 880 attachments identified, and so the new ordinance, the associated fee was $100 per attachment. So a one-time $500 franchise fee, and then per attachment, per agreement. So you could have multiple attachments per pole for different entities. That would be $100 per attachment. Then it was $1 per linear foot of conduit used, and $1 per linear foot of city-owned cable used, which would be fiber for this instance, or telecommunication cable. So that's where that number came from.
Can I just clarify this, because it's kind of confusing? So, at city council meetings, there's a bill or something where they say, okay, we're going to put this, AT&T wants to put this thing on the deal, and we want to approve them doing it, and they're going to pay, $200 a month, and that's the way it's been done, correct? And now this item 5 just wants to say that we have to decide if this money can be put towards utility rates. Am I understanding that correctly, rather than just going into the general fund, which is what has been done in the past?
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm not sure on that. I could say what's done in the past is the franchise agreements, are run by the, by a separate office, for the same one that will do real estate contracts. That's out of the finance department.
I'm just trying to understand what this item 5 is.
Right.
I asked for it to be on the agenda.
I just don't understand it. I don't quite understand that's the way I think, that's what I think. Now, maybe I'm all wrong, the way I'm interpreting this item 5. It's that we're just going to decide if we want to put that money towards rates rather than just throwing it in the general fund, because you get it every year, right? And
Yeah,
I mean,
this particular item, that action could be done by the committee. The committee can advise city council on whatever. It's a for possible action discussion on the recent bill that was passed regarding utility regulations, pole attachments. So the way you're describing it is accurate. So then it'd be up to the committee on which way.
so
they
we're
would
getting
want-
that money every year.
Correct.
Right now.
Well, now, after this bill is passed, now we're able to receive the funds.
Well, before, if they're slapping something on one of our poles, then they do have a agreement to pay the city for that right now, correct? Or there's not attaching anything until now.
So for the state of Nevada, the TV is run by the state of Nevada. So we don't have agreements with TV, but with telecommunications, we do have franchise agreements. With a couple entities. I don't know the details about those. I can't speak on those. I can only speak on, this new bill.
So this is all new. In other words,
Correct.
this is new revenue.
Yep.
Okay. That
Yes.
clarifies something here. Okay.
Yes.
That's estimated, is that the estimated $89,000?
Yes, based on the number of poll attachments that we had from a
We have
report
right now, there's
from
an-
2013.
And the $89,000 you're saying, Larry, goes to general fund.
That's what is being suggested at this point, and that's why I thought we
And
should
We're,
discuss.
we're
it.
not suggesting that. I'm not.
All I'm
not-
saying is the paper stated that. That's what was stated in the paper. And so I just want to make sure that the committee sees it and that we have an opportunity to at least put it into the rate study as a possible revenue.
Hello, committee.
How you doing?
And then my question is, what's saying that money has to go to general fund? Who's saying
I
that?
think that's what we're going to hear.
Hello, my name is Cynthia Sneed. I am the finance director for the city. And it is appropriate for any revenue generated from that to go to the general fund. It is very similar to the cell phone towers that we have. The city owns the land. The communications company owns the tower, the hardware. But they pay a land lease. They pay us rent on that land. So that's how we receive that revenue. In the case of the utility poles, the city owns the land. We do not receive any rental income from the utility. So that revenue, generated, just like it would for any other utility not utility is not the right word, anybody else, a franchise that historically has run underground, but now we're to the point where it's above ground, that has always come directly to the general fund because we own the land and the right-of-way where all of that is contained.
Yeah, but, first off, just to make sure the committee understands, the utility was not separated until about 2019, 2018 at the earliest. So what had been done in the past, we're still trying to go forward and try to understand how the utilities have been separated out. And so I think we're trying to all say is that the utilities should just be part of the city. We don't want to charge the utilities, and we are charging the utilities for admin fees. So if
Those
we're-
admin fees are for services provided by the city, central services like finance. We run payroll, we pay the bills. It's for those central services the city provides. That is apart and separate from this franchise fee, because that's the hard infrastructure. That's not services that we're providing.
Well, but when we look at it as anything that the city provides should be paid for. I don't see that. But we are not, it's my knowledge, we are not receiving any funds from the general fund anymore. So all the solar lease stuff, we don't receive anything, utilities. There's nothing that we receive for the rate process.
That's correct, because what the land lease is on the land that the city owns. There really isn't any utility activity on, a utility company, city.
Except for
utility
being
company
part of
on
the cities, because so the thing also to remember is that the city, it's city-owned. If we were, so when you're saying it's similar to another entity that has the cell tower, they're not city-owned.
Correct. I was just trying to give an example that is the closest that I could come to having a utility pole on city land or having a cell tower on city land, and how there's some similarities there and there are some differences.
True, but also I just want to be careful with that, because by saying that we're not renting, that the utilities aren't renting the land, there was one talk at one time when we first started about utility renting the space that they have and renting their desks, and that seems pretty ridiculous. So I didn't want, if we go down this one route, I don't want that to be brought up again to say, okay, well, we're separating this entity out. If they were a separate entity outside the Boulder City and they were inside using our facilities, that's one thing, but we're supposed to be one family. And I'm just trying to make sure that the rates have a chance to have some additional funding, because right now we don't. We did get approval from the citizens, and it was put on the ballot at one point to get funds from the general fund. And if I understand, the charter allows for that, but we're not doing that anymore, and there's no part of it looking at that it will do it. So there's no additional funds. This is a minor amount that could help the rates. And so if we just shut it off completely, that's why I'm just asking us, please let's review it in the rate study to see where it falls out.
Can I clarify it too?
Certainly.
These are new services, correct? Or people haven't had to pay for these services in the past. Is that correct? I mean, if somebody wants to slap something on the pole, they just haven't been doing that, or they've been doing it for free?
We've had franchise fees in place for a very long time. This is updating and bringing our resolution to current. So it's not a brand-new fee, it's just modernizing it.
But right now, you're saying this $89,000 goes directly to the general fund because of the land, because of the piece of land that's basically on, is what it's.
I don't believe that is true for the telecommunications piece that are mounted on the poles.
Okay.
It is true for other
other
utilities that are using city right-of-way, city properties to run their infrastructure to
But
deliver
regardless, that
services to their customers.
89,000 is going to the general fund, correct?
Not from this specific utility on the poles.
Right,
We
understand.
do
No, no.
receive
From
franchise
other-
fees.
from other
From
entities,
others,
from other
yes.
franchise.
Yes.
And then that, what you're saying, Larry, is that the 89,000 is not going into utilities, so we're not getting any credit for it or anything like that. So we don't have to pay that 89,000. It doesn't cost us
No,
anything.
but we pay for the poles.
I understand, but you're saying, that's what I'm trying to get to. So you're saying it's our poles, if we want to look at it from utility versus city. It's our poles, but the city's getting the money from the franchise fees. And the
But those
city's getting
poles
the
sit on city land.
Okay, that's
And
what
so
I'm saying,
there's
that's
no
where I'm going.
land rental
So
in there.
But the reason that the franchise fee goes to the city is because it's thinking that it owns the land, and that's why they're entitled to it. Is that my?
Yes, yeah,
Is
ba-
that
that's
safe way to say
Basically,
it?
because it's in the city right away.
Correct.
Yes.
So what you're saying is we should see if that could impact our rates by being part of our income, because of part of utilities income. Is that what you're after?
Right, if we're paying for the poles,
so in other words-
100%.
Right, understand.
So you're saying that some of this revenue should go towards reducing the rates?
That's what I would hope.
Okay,
for.
so
But
can
then
I ask?
the counter to that could be, hey, you're using our buildings. We don't charge you anything for the buildings, right?
Yes, so if we
So-
look
so you're
at
gonna-
the,
We're all
I
part of the
understand,
city.
but let's look at the whole thing there. I mean, if you're gonna start saying that, then then the city, if we're separating city and utilities, city could say, okay, we're gonna charge you for the building and da-da-da-da-da.
Well, we shouldn't be, all I'm saying, we should be getting,
Well, but that seems to me, I think it's worth the discussion, but I can see other inputs here that say, is it worth the $89,000?
Well, I'm just curious about $89,000. What kind of percentages are we looking at? Is
Yeah,
this so
exactly.
minute that it's not
Exactly.
even worth? I mean, it might reduce my bill by 2 cents a month. I mean,
If-
we
if
should,
that.
to me, that we shouldn't even be.
And that's that's kind of a good thing, Ray, because that's what I'm thinking too, is like, what's the total impact of the $89,000?
So Mr. Carr is correct that we are one legal entity, the city
Sure.
and the utility, right? But for financial standards, it is the expectation that the utility pay for itself, meaning incorporating all of the expenses that relate to delivering the services to their customers. And part of that is not captured in today's world. The land, in this case, the land upon which those poles rest, the office space, there's many things that currently, there's a subsidy essentially from the city to the utility already.
So what you're saying, this kind of opens up something I just thought of, and hopefully it's on subject. The money we get from solar is really, that goes all to the general fund?
It all comes to the city's buckets, but it is not exclusively to the general fund. There's a piece that goes to some other funds that help to fund our CIP. You just looked at the utility CIP.
For utilities?
no.
Or
No, not for
CIP
utilities,
public
just for
works?
the city itself. So about 70% of that goes, 70%, right? Yeah, 70% of the lease revenue hits the general fund. And then the other 30% is allocated to other funds that are governmental funds and not the utility funds.
That does not, so bottom line, the solar money does not hit the utilities.
Bottom line, that's true.
Okay, so it doesn't reduce, the solar doesn't reduce our power costs?
It does not.
Okay, and that's important too. I mean, that's another factor in this whole thing that you're presenting. So when we get all the pieces together, I think we need to look at it all.
And that's another
And I'm
reason.
not
that-
ignoring it, I'm just trying to say, this is what,
Right, but I think we definitely don't want, it should never be looked at that
I mean,
somebody in the
I-
city should be renting
Yes.
it should never be looked
but,
at
but,
that.
would
but
like
I
to
think what
clarify-
people think is the solar should be reducing, the
So
solar
it-
money should be reducing our electric bill down to hardly nothing.
I would think, I think a lot
But
of the
it's not,
citizens.
it's not even affecting us.
No.
And
But
people-
it is
people still don't
indirectly,
understand that.
there is a little bit
Well.
indirect benefit, and that is that we have a power purchase agreement with one of the solar
Okay.
fields to provide the power that we then distribute at a much lower cost.
Sure,
So
sure, that's a,
that's
but
indirectly,
it's
then-
an indirect cost, I
right.
agree. But I know that's why a lot of people, I think, always say, well, we got all that solar, our rates, how come our rates are so high? We get all this solar. Because they're thinking, well, I got solar panels on my house, my bill's nothing. So it
as those-
doesn't work out that.
yeah, it does not. As those solar companies come in and set up shop out there, they have power purchase agreements with other off-takers.
Correct.
And we're not one of those off-takers for the most part. So there's no benefit directly to the city, other than this one power purchase agreement that we get a little bit cheaper power purchased that we then distribute out.
Sorry to clarify, there's no benefit to the utilities. The city benefits greatly. The general fund benefits.
No, what I'm saying is
from
the utility has the opportunity to buy some power at a reduced rate
In one aspect, yes.
from
Yes.
one of these solar fields.
And
So that is a benefit to the utility
Yes.
that comes from the solar fields.
Right, but the other solar fields, the city does benefit, so maybe I misheard what you
Yes,
said. The
that-
city,
that's- that is true.
benefits from all the
Sure,
general
yes.
fund benefits from all the,
70% of the revenue goes into the general fund.
Okay.
okay.
It just seems like this is such a minute amount of money that it would never, if it was, some of it was put towards rates, it would be so minuscule, it wouldn't be worth the administrative costs. It's just easier to shove it at the general fund and let you guys, wise people in the city, determine how to spend that money. That's my opinion, but.
Well, the administration fund has been going up about $500,000 a year, so $80,000 would help. And so it's not minuscule, so all I'm saying
Well,
is
I
we
think-
look at it in the
I
rate
think what-
process.
I
but-
think it appears to be minuscule to me as well, and I think we should see what its impact, what is its impact? If we knew, then we could say, pursue it or just let it drop.
That's all
And
I was
the
basic
rate
thing I
study
was-
will probably be telling about how much that admin
So we
cost
could just
really
say-
should be,
What-
instead of what we're charging.
So when they get the rate study going, we could say, okay, interject less $89,000 or some money.
But, that would.
And then what would the rate be on, based on that? Would that be that as simple as possible?
Well, that would be an oversimplification, but,
Right.
point taken, that
Right.
would be one
Well, that's-
way to look at it. However, the services that the general fund is providing
Yeah.
far exceeds whatever the admin fee is that we receive from the utility.
But we should direct our liaison then to take that point. No, I mean, I'm serious, so take that point. What does an impact of $89,000 and other things that we don't know about? What would that impact do to the rate study?
The other thing you could do is try to get an idea of, even if you set up, what's $500,000, what that does to the study, and we could look at it that way. Because that way, I've been meaning to ask that for some time anyway. So we just get an idea as if we go up $500,000 and stuff like that, then do it. But yes, we definitely want to be careful, because we don't want to be charging ourselves.
Well, I think
The city the utilities being charged other things. So if this
Right.
opens up that can of worms, then I totally agree, we should shut it down. but-
There's gotta be reasons for it, but we're obligated to take a look at it. No reason why we can't do that.
Yeah, there's another side to this too, is the utility fund pays for all of the linemen and workers that would go out and maintain what the city is collecting rent on. City doesn't pay for those guys to go out and supervise. Things are being done, that's all paid out of the utility fund to the electrical department, correct?
That's true. Wages are, for those particular employees, are paid out of the utility fund, but we are a customer as well.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
We pay our utility bills.
Well, you pay the cost, you don't pay the full amount, and that's where we're trying, the city only pays the cost of power, the cost of water, you don't pay the full amount that the other people do. So that's part of the situation, so we're running out of time, but this is something would be nice for the committee to understand. It had been sort of brought up several years ago when we were trying to learn things, so the committee doesn't have all the facts that Howard and I have gathered over the last several years. And it's just a matter of, again, not trying to be argumentative, not trying to be, trying not to bring up a defensiveness. It's just, I'm trying to just get a fairness. So you're looking at it one way of a fairness, I'm looking at it another way. Is there a way we can compromise? And that's it, because with the capital prices going up, and if the electric price keeps going up, our rates are gonna do nothing but skyrocket. Just like you saw in 30 and 31, you're looking at $13 million, you're looking at $15 million for those years. And so the rates have to go up. And so how can we can get it? So we've got, the solar helps reduce the property rates. So the citizens get a benefit from that, there's no doubt. But there's still, it depends on how it relates to the rates and stuff like that. So all I'm doing is asking to do, and we just look at some of the facts. Mike brought up a great part. So just let's look at all the facts, and the rate process should be doing that.
So you're saying is we don't charge, the city doesn't pay for power or water?
They pay the cost of power and water, they don't pay for the infrastructure,
Okay.
which
All
is
right.
fair, but
Well,
when the water is used
but-
more than 40%,
When we line item this in the rate study, do we have a line item for those costs? Do we say, here's what it would be if we charged the base rate, and here's what it is if we would, the extra revenue if we would charge what we get with the infrastructure?
I don't believe we've done that in the
I
past.
mean, maybe that's something for us to look at, so we know,
Yep.
otherwise we're flying blind. I mean, we just know, yes, we've got finite number that the average monthly bill is, and what extra would it be, and what are we cutting ourselves out of?
Right, that's why it's important to have a full-blown rate
Right.
study and
Right.
try
I
to
mean,
look at
again,
all the facts.
I think that's things that we need to bring up.
But then if
during
you-
the
That the
scoping work.
scoping of that project
The
is
scope- yeah,
about to
exactly.
occur, and that
Right.
would be the inappropriate time to.
Bring this up in the
yeah.
scoping side
If
and
you,
say,
if you include that cost, then it's gonna cost the city more to operate, and that's gonna.
of course, yes. That's
But
why it needs to be, here's what the savings could be overall, because otherwise it's gonna have to go back to somebody, right? Property tax has gotta go up, or gotta generate more solar, or whatever.
Yeah, so I think we can all agree that we're not advocating to increase the city's rates for that aspect, but it would be to look at. But at the same time, if we have other issues that maybe would help us, the city is getting the benefit and the utility rates are not getting any benefit from what we can see. You're saying that we're not being necessarily charged the full amount.
That's correct. That administrative charge that you pay does not fully cover the services that the city provides to the utility.
And that needs to be.
So-
And I think that needs to be pointed out as well.
Well, it has been pointed out in the past, but some of the funds, some of the way it was presented was questionable. I apologize, but that's some of the numbers that was presented. Because you're assuming that every year, for instance, we're being paid for all the capital projects, that the salaries are including a certain amount for capital projects and stuff like that, for public use and stuff like that. Okay, if the year is mostly all public property, just like this last one where it was done with the uptown, then if most of it, the salaries are for the city purposes, then we're paying for the city purposes as well. And so it just doesn't seem, from what I can see, I didn't see the full give and take. And that's all I'm asking for.
Well, and
All I'm
that
asking for is
should be
fairness.
scoped in the rate study so that it is clear and.
Yes,
yes.
exactly. And then if we have time to sort of debate it, however, whatever word you want to say that we can look at it, then I think that's the fair way to do it.
So in our rate study, can we include a rate increase to the city of Boulder City?
I don't think, well, say again, I don't think we don't really want to go there, so let's not, because then if we increase that, they're definitely gonna charge us rent.
You're right.
And so let's,
But
that's not I think, but the one thing we can look at is, okay, so you have a municipal golf course and you have another golf course. If the city is using more than the residents are using in water, and cities, maybe that's where there's different things we can look at.
I don't
And
think this is
so-
really on
So
topic to the item.
What's
Yeah,
that?
we
Oh,
just
this
want
is-
to be on the item, the agenda item, which is
Okay.
discussion of bill
Okay,
number
thank you very much.
2086.
So anyway,
regard-
this will be, so this is, like I said today, the rate process there's a lot that we need to look at the rate process. And this is another one that we'd want to look at.
Well,
Thank you.
what's our action on this?
I think we just look at the rate process and we don't I don't think there's any motion
I
needed
think you
for
got
it.
some good information for your input to the scoping, really. I think you got some good pieces there. We have some good, our discussion here is some good input to the scoping part of the contract that's coming up, so I think that's a good deal.
Well, Larry will be there, so.
Yeah, right. Thanks for volunteering, Larry.
Okay, so we apologize, we went over on that one, but there was good data on that, thank you.
Yeah.
We'll shut down number 5, and so since 5 was earlier, so 5 was moved forward, we'll go down to 8 for possible action. Discuss potential agenda items related to revenue requirements of the utilities. So I think one thing, and I think I can speak for the committee and Randy, I think that we would, if there is a way that we could bring the sewer, so the SNWA sewer issue back to the agenda, because even if we do not have something by January, hopefully we would, but if we don't, I think there's a lot of information that the committee can discuss, and without that agenda item, we just proved earlier in this agenda, we can't truly discuss it. So, Joe, do you understand? Because I guess it was taken off because, I'm assuming it was taken off because there wasn't new information, but.
Correct.
But my understanding is that the committee doesn't fully understand all the potential. And so if the final is brought to us without some discussion, then we would be forced to even lengthen that meeting even more to have the discussion that the committee is looking for.
Well, first of all, we've already discussed this at a previous meeting, and we decided to put it on the agenda, every agenda, so that we get an update of the process.
Sure.
So to me, it's already been decided that it's going to be on every agenda until it's done.
Right.
It was 6 months ago probably, but that's what I recall.
Yeah, so I've got it on the list.
Yeah,
It'll
yeah,
be
but
on the
simple
next
as that.
meeting.
Let's just put it on the list for discussion.
It was taken off, and so I just I'm trying to give information why we would like to put it back on. So it was taken off by somebody else's decision.
Well, I mean, Josh had a reason for taking it off. I mean, you could explain it, but, I mean, there was a
There's
legitimate
no,
reason to take it off.
there's no new information.
But again, we've already decided to leave it on anyways, just so that we can get an update
Very
from
good.
you every 3 months.
Yes.
So I don't think that's unreasonable,
No.
it's a decision that's already been made. So we should be putting it on there unless we make a motion to take it off.
Sure.
Okay. So is there anything new that anybody would like to put on the agenda for next January?
Well, we are going to have an update from you on the rate study, correct? I mean, is that
Yeah,
something?
hopefully we'll have an overall rate. It'd be a major rate study, so we don't, so that would be something that's not on this one, but it would be a rate study update or something like that.
Well, again, I guess I would assume we'll just, on the next agenda, there'll be something about you and whoever giving us
Update on the rate study. Sure.
an update on the rate study.
Right,
Yep.
because if the thing is gonna be a go by estimated December,
Yeah.
we won't have any input at all. We'll only, our liaison will have information of what the scoping is, but how will we get how can we get information about what's being scoped?
From the council meeting.
From the
Yeah, we could
final
have a
scope?
special meeting.
Because I'd like to certainly see what the scope is, yeah, whatever.
Well, the intent was to have the liaison participate in the scoping process.
Right.
And then once that process is done,
Can he
it's gonna,
communicate to us without having
No.
a meeting, though? No.
no, it'll be a city council meeting. You can see what the scope is, 'cause it'll be in the contract. And the goal is to have that
So
by
we
the
could look-
first meeting in November or the
So
meeting in
that November
December.
meeting, we'd have to go into the minutes, or the packet that's being distributed online, we could look and see what that scope is at that point.
But through the committee, he's our liaison through the committee, so in other words, we've kind of taken the power and given it to him.
True, but it
Through
would
the committee.
No, but he can't communicate.
communicate.
Yeah, but he's our representative, so he's going to make decisions based
But yeah, exactly.
based on our confidence of him, right? That's why he's there.
Well, I agree, but what if we don't like what
Well,
what if he gets shut out? What if he's trying to get something and it gets shut out? How do we
Yeah.
know that?
Unfortunately, when the scope of work goes to the council, it's pretty much a done deal.
Yeah.
So,
Right,
but
that's
the thing
what I'm
that,
getting
the thing would be helpful is that, could you send that out to the committee at the same time that was sent to the council?
member?
We can notify the committee when it's available
That
publicly.
would be great, that'd
Yeah.
be great, because at least you could,
How about that?
you don't have to, at least you know what to look for.
Right.
So that would be helpful.
Yeah, because, who knows?
And I'll do my best to keep an eye on that too, so.
Yes, thank you very much. For the next meeting, due to the holidays, wanted to double check with everyone's schedule and see if we were able to have the second Wednesday in January as opposed to the
Is
first.
that the 8th? I think that's the 8th.
The 7th is the first Wednesday.
Oh, okay, 7th, okay.
And the second one is the 14th.
14th,
Were you talking
yes.
about the 14th or the 7th?
So we would have the meeting on the 14th, right, Holly?
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, yeah,
Yep.
they're right.
Yeah.
That works probably better for me, I know that.
14th.
Okay.
I don't know about you
14th,
guys, it
14th.
doesn't matter, but
See, the 14th.
14th is,
Let's see, it's,
Okay by me?
Yeah, it's good with me.
Okay.
I'll triple check, I think, I think no, actually, I'm gone that, yeah, I assumed it was on the 7th,
Right.
because that would be the normal time frame.
Yes, it
And
would
that's
be,
when-
but
So I said, I have vacation on that time, because I assumed, I left the date that we normally have it open.
yeah, we're asking, yeah, we've got vacation. I mean, other folks aren't available,
On the 7th?
on the 7th, right? So
Oh.
we're asking to see if we can move the meeting to the 14th.
Yeah, I could do it the next day on the 8th, but you're saying, I'm assuming they're probably having it the whole week. Otherwise, I'll do my best to call in, because that's gonna be an important meeting. Like I said, I left the date that we had available open, and
Can we skip another week?
I'm gone, I'm gone 2 weeks.
Oh. Oh, okay.
I'm gone that Tuesday. I'm gone for 2 weeks that month. That's 1 month I schedule different, and I've been doing my best to,
You tried.
to keep everything open. See, I'll be it should be in an area where I would have internet, so I should be able to get online to do that. That's 1 o'clock on the 14th. 1 o'clock on the 14th. It's a Wednesday, yeah.
They can
That's-
set you up a Zoom, Larry.
Okay, so if that's what everybody wants to do, I will do my very best to be available.
That sounds like we don't have a choice because they can't do it on the 7th and can't do it on the 21st, so.
Okay, so we're moving that date.
But if we have any special meetings, are we going to have them on the first Wednesdays? So it would be December 1st and February would be, because if anything came up, that would be the 4th.
Yeah.
So Holly, is that date, is February 4th available?
Is it the first Wednesday?
Yes.
Then it would be yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
How about we had November 5th or December 4th, December 3rd?
Well, November 4th, I don't think we're having to December. What about December, what is it?
December 3rd is
December 3rd, is that available for us?
Yeah.
Okay,
So that might be a possible date.
that's a possible date if
Yeah,
that's,
if that's okay with Joe, you can check with him later.
okay, because I've been trying to keep the dates open and I'll do my best.
You're talking about a special, if we have a special meeting on December 3rd?
Yes, if we
Okay.
find something for the rate process.
Yeah.
Because I think we're gonna, that's in, as it goes with this,
Because November,
as number 8
yeah,
agenda, I think we're gonna need minimum of one more meeting, because otherwise, depends if they do 6 months, you'll have one in January, which will be the rate process, we have one in April, and that would be it. So we would have 2 meetings, and April's pretty much when they're probably either the rate, their draft, or their final one, so,
November 10th is the potential award date.
yeah, so it'd be after ours, so.
So that would be after our meeting, for
That's why December 1st would be, so if people can leave the December 3rd available, then Josh, we'd be able to send out an email or something asking for that? Is that feasible for the committee?
yeah.
And then the same thing with February, try to leave February, what did you say, the 3rd? 4th, sorry, thank you.
On February, it would be 4th.
If we can leave February 4th available?
If we have another special meeting?
Yeah, because there's a good chance we wouldn't have one in December, but we might, and if we don't, we probably would want to have one in February.
Okay.
And I would think we would like to have one with the council, I would hope, towards the end, be a joint meeting with the council with the rate, for the rate process, and that might be in March or so.
February, you're talking about Wednesday?
Yeah.
February
the
4th then?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry,
Yeah,
February.
so if you could leave that available.
The 4th, yeah, okay.
Okay, so I guess, I think that's the biggest thing so we take the regular agenda, Josh, and we add back in the Southern Nevada Water Authority, add that back in and add a rate, is that everything, or did anybody else have anything else?
There is nothing we have to take care of any other business, right? Normally in January? Okay.
That's my last, February 4th is my last day on the meeting, on the committee.
No, it'd be June. June is you and I both.
Well,
We have till June.
did we?
Yeah, we have till
Because I
June.
checked with somebody, I thought,
That's what I was curious about, if there's any,
meeting.
No,
if there's any, any expired terms or anything like that. Have you checked that, or?
I just came up and I put in.
I don't have that
we're gonna-
information on me right now. Usually the clerk's office sends that out to us, and then we can let you guys know, but I don't know off the top
But
of my head.
you'll look at that before
Beforehand.
you set the agenda?
Correct.
Yeah, make sure we don't skip anything that, I guess if you looked at the last year's January meeting, you'd have an idea if there's any special
Yeah,
things we have
the
to
clerk is
do.
good about letting us know when committee members'
do,
expiration dates are coming up.
Yeah,
so.
because actually the budget we need to start talking about the budget, because the budget is finalized in April. So with only us meeting every 3 months, then really January, we have to talk about the budget. But if we're talking about the rate, but I think it might be good to do both, the budget and the rate, so.
First Wednesday of the month is always open for you guys.
Well, except for January. January, the
Oh, yeah.
second one, it's not available,
That's
so.
one off, Larry.
Well, no, it's not, I'm sorry, it has not been, and I'm doing my best to keep my end of the bargain, and this
We're the
happened.
only one that can't make it.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
Yeah, so beyond the Zoom call.
That's why we have remotes.
As a chairman, I'm trying to do my best, and this is, and if as part of the rate, that's the first time I can discuss the rate, so if I'm not here. So, okay. Any other comments? So we will close out item number 8, and we will go to the public comment. Again, there was nothing related to this one there, right, Josh?
I didn't receive anything.
Okay, thank you. So we'll go to the phone, 702-589-9629, and we'll give it about a minute.
Turned it off somehow. I thought my battery died.
Yeah, we're still live. They're still live.
Yeah.
Okay, one more time, 702-589-9629. Go to 301. Okay, not hearing anything from the phone and not having anything presented, then we will close out the meeting at 3:01. Thank you, everybody, for your participation.
Thank you.
Thanks.
No, I re-looked at my calendar, it's July 19th. What was I?